Welcome everyone to my channel. Today I present to you the first of several backstories based on the camping nightmare Lost in the Woods, the story I wrote that featured Cyrus the Bigfoot. These stories will round out the story about Cyrus' life from the perspective of each character and add depth to him. There's so much we don't know about these characters, so this series is intended to let our imagination see things from their perspective, and just maybe, how they might perceive life and our world we share. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, hit the bell notification, share, and give this a thumbs up. Please enjoy the first part of Eunan, father of Cyrus, as we get right into it. My name is Eunan. Many of you know my son Cyrus. He is a strong young one, and will be a very powerful, if not the most powerful male our world will ever see. The potential he possesses is near limitless. Let me tell you about my life so things make more sense for you to understand Cyrus better. I was born 10,800 moons ago in the northern forest that covers the land where wheat and pumpkins grow. My father's name was Eunan the Great. He was the most powerful of all the males in all the territories all over the earth. He was known for a quick temper and extreme reaction. It's part of what made him so feared, even by our own species. When I was a small young one, he waged a war with the snow dwellers, as we call them. The war was over a large food source that is found in their dwelling land. Because of humans taking our trees and no water from the sky for many moons, we were running out of food for a vast number of us. So Father and hundreds of other males went to the snow dwellers to ask for food. They denied us and told him that we could all be ended first before they helped us. You see, they don't like those of us that dwell in the forests. They feel we help humans too much, and we are not keeping the laws of the forest. The opposite, of course, was true. Father tried to explain the truth, but their leader refused to listen. In fact, they saw an opportunity to get something from us. Our only resource they did not have enough of: salt. All creatures must have this to live, and they lack it. So their leader decided to try and raid the salt we had brought with us to barter with. Father took that as a declaration of war. I was only 100 moons old when that happened. My brother On was 350 moons old, and my sister Moa was 750 moons old. His life was ended in a trap set by several powerful males of their species. Father couldn't handle that many human-like weapons. We were all devastated by it. Territory leaders and other species leaders from all over the land came to show their respect for Father. The only one there with possible bad motives was a lone rogue wolf named Amer. He was second in command to the lone wolves, whose leader hated our species. Several males did not permit him to get close, but rather they ran him away. We were now on our own, without a father. The family groups in the territory we were in became our protectors. Naturally, one would assume that my brother or I would be the next leader. However, another older male from the territory had to be chosen as leader, since my brother was too young. My brother and I had to grow up faster than we should because of it. We now became the providers for our mother and sister. Since I was younger, I would go with my brother as he hunted and foraged. We were always warned and taught about humans and to avoid them. I must admit, I was curious about them. They seemed small and innocent. I found out, though, how wrong I was. One night while we were foraging for mushrooms and berries, we both heard the sound of a human. Owen climbed a tree to get a better look. There, only a few paces away, was a human male standing there watering the ground. This was the first time we have ever seen a human. We were both curious. I was more so than my brother. He was determined to run the human off, so that we could stay safe. Suddenly, the human made a very bright light and shone it all around. He caught my brother in the tree. My brother did the only thing he knew to do, and that was show himself and scare the human away. Things did not go as expected. The human screamed, and my brother roared and chased him a little. Just as soon as the human climbed into a tree, suddenly a loud noise came from what looked like a stick. I now know it was one of their metal weapons. Owen was frozen in fear under the tree the human was in. Then, without warning, the human started flashing more light, and one was right in the face of my brother. He pulled him out of the tree to get him out because this human seemed dangerous. As the human started to run, my brother chased after him a little to make sure he left the forest. Then the worst thing ever happened. The human stopped, turned around, and bit my brother with that metal weapon. I watched helplessly as my brother fell to the ground, seriously injured. The human just turned around and walked away. How could he do that? My brother was doing this for both his protection and ours. Maybe the human didn't understand this. Once the human got out of sight, I quickly ran down and picked my brother up and got him safely hidden. I went back to the tree line and waited. Soon the human came back and I just watched him. He looked around and then seemed to make eye contact with me. I quickly ran back to my brother. We were too afraid to tell the other males what happened, because we should have never confronted the human in the first place. So I tended to his wounds the best I could. A couple of moons later, we went down to the stream to drink and bathe. As we were going down, suddenly we saw that human there holding a different kind of stick in the water. We quietly made our way around him, but my brother said he needed to make peace with the human, so he approached him. The human clearly had no intent of making peace. I looked on from the other side of the water as my brother made contact. All I saw was the human pull out a stick that looked like the cutters Mother uses for our food. I knew my brother was in trouble. I grabbed an old branch and ran over to protect him. As I was running down, I saw him drop to his knees, and I thought the human tried to kill him. So I hit the human across his back with a branch. I swung punches at him, but he ducked them. The human fell over but quickly got up and used that weapon, but this time on me. Suddenly pain came across my arm as the human cut my arm wide open. I roared at him so hard. The human ran away back to his dwelling, and I grabbed my brother, and we both got out of there as fast as we could. I knew we had no choice but to go back and tell my mother and the leader what happened. Owen was no longer alive 4 moons after we returned. I developed so much anger, not just for humans, but for myself. I was determined to be a better male and brother to my sister and son to my mother. After the mourning period was over, the older males came together at the meeting tree and decided that I was partially to blame for my brother's ending. We should have never engaged the human, much less returned to it once my brother was injured. They decided that when I was 800 moons old, I would be banished from the Northern Territory. However, I would be allowed to choose where I live, not just the forest of banishment. As I grew, I became more and more angry with humans. I felt they were to blame, and they ended my brother. That drove me to imitate my father and train to become a powerful male. The next several hundred moons were uneventful, and actually peaceful. I just kept learning everything I could from Mother, my sister, and a couple of younger males who helped me finish learning how to hunt, fight, and forage. The morning after I turned 800 moons old, the older males gathered and confirmed their decision. I was to leave the territory before dark time, and I was never to return. I felt it was very excessive, but I couldn't argue with them. I could actually understand why they did it. They didn't want future young ones to think they could do whatever they wanted without consequences. I left my mother and sister there to be cared for by the other group members. I saw my sister one time after that day, but I never got to see my mother again. I made my way south toward the mountains of cloud and trees. I decided to go there because there is a vast span of area between here and the mountains of rocks and the mountains of rain. It was a slow journey. All of the land was unfamiliar as I had never been anywhere before. I just kind of roamed around trying to find my way and avoid danger. About 200 moons after I left, I was making my den for the night and had planned to rest the next day. As it was getting dark, I heard leaves crunch in the distance. Of course, I sat up to listen. I couldn't really see anything, though. As I laid back down, suddenly I heard a growl. I popped back up to find myself surrounded by 8 wolves. These were large rogue wolves that our species in the East has had trouble with for many moons. They are the lone wolves. They already threatened to come here, and I guess they are testing the water. Loken, the leader of the wolves, said,
"So this is the son of Jaren the Great. We heard he was killed by his own cousins. What a shame he became so weak."
I barked back that my father was the most powerful of any of our species to walk the ground, and he fell victim to a trap. Then he said,
"Well, let's see how the son of Jaren fares with a trap."
The leader and 4 others rushed in on me. One bit me right on the leg before I could even get up. I kicked that one full force and ended it instantly. I rose to my feet as the leader lunged at my neck, and the other 6 lunged at my arms and back. At one point, there were 5 wolves hanging off of me and 2 more on the sidelines. I was able to grab one of them that was on my right arm and hit him against a tree, ending him. However, the 2 on my left arm were ripping back and forth right where my old injury was from that human. I was in so much pain. I body slammed myself right to the ground on the top of the 2 wolves and injured both of them badly. They limped off into the forest as soon as I lifted myself up. The other on my leg wouldn't let go, and I couldn't pry him off because my hand was weak from the bites. So I balled up my fist and hit it on each side of the head at the same time. It let go then because it was no longer alive. The leader once again lunged at my neck. He was large, but fast. He latched on right as I swung at him. He was fastened to my throat, and it was getting harder to breathe. I knew I had to act quickly. There were still 2 other wolves ready to join the fight. I let out a roar and grabbed the front legs of the leader and pulled in opposite directions as hard as I could. I ended the leader. The other 2 wolves were ready to fight, but I was now fairly weak from blood loss. That's when I hear a roar come from in front of me in the distance. It was a female with a branch. The wolves turned around and ran towards her. She swung the branch and knocked both wolves unconscious instantly. I knelt there, heavily breathing and fairly injured. The wolves actually did a number on me. The female came up to me and extended her hand and helped me to my feet. She was the most beautiful female I had ever seen, and I knew she could fight. I just looked at her speechless, and she probably thought I couldn't communicate. She asked me my name, and I stumbled out that I am Eunan. She said her name is Sorma. The next 12,000 or so moons were filled with fear, anger, and more fights, and love. I will tell you more about that a little later on.